Hey guys, my name is Matsimio, and today some pretty big changes are happening in Rainbow Six Siege. With the introduction of the Red Crow DLC, they're going to be making some pretty big adjustments, and one that has caused a bit of a controversy is that you are no longer going to be able to use the ACOG scope on the SMG-11. This is a pretty significant nerf to this gun. It's not going to make it worthless because they haven't done anything to its stats. It still has an awesome rounds per minute, a very manageable recoil, but the reason why this gun was so powerful and infamous at this point was because it had access to the ACOG scope. And so the reason why this has caused so much controversy is that on the one side, a lot of people are ecstatic that this change has finally gone through. It may be a little weird that it's taken them 11 months to make this decision, but the fact that it's finally happened, we're not going to have to deal with this powerhouse of a secondary weapon that feels more like a primary. On the other side of the coin, though, people are upset because if you ever play as Smoke as your main character, this is a pretty big kick to the face. The reason why Smoke was as good as he was because he had access to the SMG-11. He could take people out at long range no problem, and as soon as things got intimate, he could switch on over to his close encounter guns, which was his primary weapons. I know how crazy that sounds, so he could use a shotgun, or he could continue using the SMG-11 because that's what the weapon was designed for. And so pretty much the entire kit revolved around this secondary weapon, which apparently wasn't the original design when the developers created this loadouts. According to Ubisoft, who made a statement, it was never their intention to provide a secondary weapon that had the capability of sniping over long distances. Now I'm quoting here, the decision was made with the future of Rainbow Six Siege in mind. Removing the ACOG from the secondary weapons will allow us to create more diverse gameplay moving forward. Now, I know that some people might bring up the argument that if the SMG-11 was a primary gun, no one would be complaining right now. The problem with that argument, though, is that it is a secondary weapon. There is no other pistol in the game that has this much power and this much influence over firefights, and I think it's for that very reason why something needs to be done. If this was a primary gun and you were playing as Smoke, then you would have the SMG-11 and a pistol. You wouldn't have the SMG-11 and a shotgun that you can use in close encounter combat and destroy people in those situations. Smoke wouldn't even be nearly as good as he is right now if this was classified as a primary gun, at least with that logic. And so just in general, I think this is going to be a good thing for Rainbow Six Siege. Of course, only time will tell. We're going to have to wait a couple of weeks to get a good grasp if Smoke is now worthless. But if Ubisoft does need to go in and make some adjustments to this operator, at least they don't have to take the pocket sniper rifle into consideration when they are balancing out his loadouts. Another change that is going to have a dramatic impact on the way that we play the game is that ranked rounds are going from 4 minutes in length down to 3. Now, Ubisoft wants to stress that this is a test. This is not permanent. If it doesn't go the way that they want it to, they will revert it back to the way that it was. What this means, though, is that now for the Red Crow DLC, you have to be playing the objective when you're on offense and playing ranked. No more sitting outside the objective room for 2 minutes, kind of twiddling your thumbs, hoping that the defenders get bored and peek their head out. I kind of like this change. Now, this is also going to be another one that's going to be more of a wait and see, but one of my biggest issues with playing ranked is that everyone would take their sweet ass time. Now, for some people, this is great because it makes it feel more tactical. You slowly move around the map methodically, clearing out all the different rooms, ensuring that no one's going to be flanking you. But when you're on the defensive side and you're just sitting on the objective waiting for three and a half minutes just for the enemy to get there, and then everything pops off for those last 15 seconds, it's boring for those 3 minutes. And so I think what this is trying to accomplish is just to get the action moving a little bit more. If you're on offense and you're playing ranked, hopefully you kind of understand how the game works right now, and you're going to be able to work with your team to make the callouts and execute your strategy. No longer just sitting outside the objective waiting for the enemy to screw up. You're going to have to execute and actually siege the objective. It's going to be about playing the objective now and less about going around and just trying to slowly pick off the enemy. Now, the impact of this is going to be significant, and it's also going to be a big buff to the defensive side. If offense just has less time to clear out all the rooms, roamers are going to have a larger impact on the match. They're going to be able to run the clock. If you have to deal with a roamer and they're pestering you, even if they're not getting a kill, that slowly drains away at the clock, so you have less time to execute your plan on the objective. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Personally, I like the idea of having faster rounds because it's more of an emphasis on playing the objective, but on the other side of the coin, I could see where this could be a disaster. Sure, if you're playing with some friends, you might be able to execute your plan no problem in 3 minutes, but if you're with a bunch of randoms trying to coordinate in solo queue, this could be a nightmare. And so, while of course only time will tell, I'm crossing my fingers that this is going to be a good thing for ranks. It also might be horrible. The last big change is that neck shots are now going to count as headshots. If you weren't aware, before this patch, if you shot someone in the neck, it looked like you shot them in the head because their face recoiled, had the same animation that if you shot them in the head, blood would fly everywhere, it was the same amount of blood, but of course you wouldn't get the one-shot kill, and this would lead to a lot of confusions. You'd think to yourself, wow, I lost that firefight because of poor hit registration, poor netcode, but it was because you hit them in the neck. And so what Ubisoft is doing is that now when you hit them in that area, you will get the one-shot kill. This seems like a very bizarre way of handling it. It's like, well, why don't you just change the animation and reduce the amount of blood that flies everywhere? Like, that seems like the simpler fix, but I guess they just wanted to go this direction. Basically what this means for us is that there's now going to be more one-shot kills in Rainbow Six Siege. Of course, the neck and the head is a much larger target than the head, and so this is going to at least have a slight impact on the way that we play the game. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Give me your thoughts on what we discussed today. Are you loving that the SMG-11 is getting kicked in the face? Are you very disappointed? Let me know down below. But yeah, until tomorrow, have a good one, and take it easy.